Welcome to, I guess we can't call this happy hour with Heinzel anymore. We can when I'm performing. However, tonight we're going to have a special guest. We'll just call these, I'll just call it another Sherman Griffin event. And We'll start having more guest performances coming up. First of all, my name is Heinzel Kunzman. I've been leading a project called the Sherman Griffin Project. I will put in the chat section in a moment the website for our project, the Sherman Griffin Project. And Basically, we will have a music school, cafe, and a jazz lounge all under one roof. Jazz Oasis, not Jazz Lounge, Jazz Oasis. And we So what we're doing here is basically the Jazz Oasis portion of it. And in the Jazz Oasis, is more about entertainment in general, although it will emphasize traditional jazz. Alongside jazz, we will also have poetry as well as comedy for your entertainment. So along those same lines, tonight we have a special local poet that will be joining us in a moment, and we'll be reciting poetry. First, I would like to say that any donations that you make between any weekend from Friday noon until Sunday midnight, any donation during that time period, any weekend, will go towards upcoming performers during this segment. During the week, any donations you make through PayPal to the Sherman Griffin will go towards the construction of the Sherman Griffin. So I just want to be clear about that. It's also that message is also on our website. Okay, and if you'd like to make a donation through PayPal, you can see on the bottom ticker that our PayPal handle is the Sherman Griffin. We'll also be putting up any future guest performers PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo accounts so that you can also make donations directly to the performer. Okay, so also we're using a new streaming platform tonight. We were using Switcher before, which is great, but it wasn't universal. You can kind of use it on some Microsoft devices, and most of them you couldn't, or Windows devices, I guess I should say. Most of them you couldn't, but some you could. And then most Apple devices you could use it, but some you couldn't if they were outdated. So we're using a more universal platform tonight called StreamYard, and it seems to be working pretty well. There are some features with it that are more convenient than Switcher. For example, if you want to make yourself known and hang out with people, our chat section works very well. I've already tried it out. You can hang out with people. You can just imagine it's a Saturday night and you're in the club. And your friend walks in and you invite them to sit down with you. If you notice somebody's there in the chat section, you can say hi to them and interact. You can ask questions. You can make comments about what you're hearing. We'll probably read the comments later, so if you say anything insulting to us, we'll probably take it personally. But that's just the nature of the business. So say whatever you feel like. I would like to emphasize, though, that it is a family-friendly event, so please try to keep it semi-clean. And let's see here, upcoming performers. So before introducing tonight's guest, the next performance we'll have, the next show we'll have is March 27th, Saturday at 7 p.m. And we will be inviting another poet, Caban Cortez, a very young poet, young local poet, very well known amongst musicians in Milwaukee. He will be performing his poetry on that evening, and I'll be performing a little bit of music alongside him. Tonight I'll just perform one tune and then let Mario take over. In March, we will be welcoming the amazing Neil Davis, the guitarist Neil Davis, along with his partner Steve Pepin. So they're the guitar duo that have played around Milwaukee for many years. That will be March 27th. March 13th is still a question mark. We're looking to fill that gap. We'll keep you posted on these upcoming events on our website. So if you go to our website, I'll put this in the chat section in a moment, probably while Mario's doing his thing. I'll put the website there, and then you can go to the website under events, and you can see what upcoming performance we've scheduled. Hopefully we can get this streamlined so that eventually we have our schedule put together 2 to 3 months in advance. Hopefully we'll also start getting enough donations so that we can have these events every Saturday. That would be the next step. Right now we're doing them every other Saturday because our revenue is not enough yet. Once we get the donations rolling, we will be doing this every Saturday. And then the next step would be to add Friday after that. So we'll see where this is going. So far, we've got some pretty good wins, and we'll just try to keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. Also, I would like to emphasize that our Jazz Oasis, when it is operational, will not be serving alcohol. However, we will be serving really cool drinks. They're basically mocktails, and I'll try to introduce one possible one. This one I would stake my reputation on. I know the last one wasn't really that great. This one is, okay, so you have to put it in a blender, crushed ice, and then 2 cups cranberry juice, 1 cup orange juice, and a tablespoon of crushed ginger, and 1 or 2 teaspoons of crushed clove. It's very refreshing. So I would stake my reputation on this. I think both, especially on a hot summer afternoon like we have today. Just kidding. This would be a really refreshing drink. Okay, so that's what I'll be drinking tonight. I don't have a name for that one yet. In fact, the names for our drinks will be, we'll use names of people in Milwaukee that have significant accomplishments, specifically related to jazz music mainly, but we won't limit it to jazz music. We'll also have fans and teachers and poets and comedians and community activists. We just require that they are from Milwaukee and have had contributed something significant along those lines. Okay, so without rambling too much on here, I'm going to play one tune, and then I'm going to introduce our guest for the evening. All right. So you probably know that I don't. Well, see, I can actually see if people are watching too. Looks like we got one person watching. All right. So this is a nice app in that regards. We can be a lot more interactive, which will be fun. And also these are recorded and filed on YouTube, so you can always watch them later too. Because I know some people get busy and really like to watch them, and then they end up watching them in the morning on Sunday morning now, so maybe they don't go to church anymore or something like that. So anyway, but it would be nice to have these, have more people alive, watching live, so we can end up hanging out like this online until we can do it in person when we got our building. All right, my first guess. We are marking history here. So maybe 50 years from now, when the Sherman Griffin is got famous people from all over the world performing. We're going to look back on what the first performance was, and it's going to be Mario Willis. He is a local poet here in Milwaukee. He's been well known by a lot of people in Milwaukee for a long time. I just met him about a year ago, so I met him through a common friend online. I probably would have met him in person first if it hadn't been for the plague that we have going on. But we ended up connecting online and talking a lot. And his poetry style is something I'm interested in. And I believe a lot of other people, or I know already for a lot of people, are interested in his poetry style. So I'm not going to say anything more, but I just want to say that I really admire his poetry, and he's a good friend of mine. And I'm going to let him take it over from here. So he's backstage. We're going to bring him onto stage. Here he's in the green room. All right, we're going to add him to the stream.
Hey, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
I'm here.
Yeah, you are here, and so I don't. We can do this and this is pretty cool to stream the StreamYard app here. So I really like this because we can interview people like this in the future, make it really interactive. I won't do that to you since we weren't really preparing that, but maybe I'll get out of your way and I'll let you introduce yourself, and then I'll let you just take over.
Awesome.
Have at it.
It's me, Mario. We're gonna do a selection of poems tonight. We're gonna do some stuff from memory. We're gonna read a few things. I don't know what you should expect, but expect something to happen. A poem. There's only so much time left. And got these mortals believing they'll live forever if they can just hide long enough from death. God's been coming, trying to expose the light and the difference between being in the kingdom of heaven and just being an Israelite. Might think the sending cures and checks are the exact same thing, but there's a difference between a wedding band and a toilet bowl ring. There's no help coming. We knew how this would end, just never win, just never wear. To infection rates and body counts on chyrons. Now everybody cares. Rona will steal your breath, but so will police, promiscuity, and addiction, not to mention all them damn hot wings. Truth is, we are helplessly floating out in space, trying to figure out the moon and stars, figure out how it feels to be in God's place. Can't smell or taste nor outrun fate. When your number's up, your date's your date. Just truth and lies. If he dies, he dies. Bassinets to caskets, it was no surprise. It was always going to end this way. Life has a debt of death to pay. Prepare yourself come Judgment Day. You'll understand the truth in what we say. Okay. I need everyone within the sound of my voice to run their fingers through this moment. Scratch the surface of faith. Crinkle every lie in this space into a ball and throw it out. I need us all to be born again. Every soul, each wish, every whisper to stand in accord. See, faith, it comes by hearing, so I need everyone to hear this. You are all God. Powers as infinite as you dream if you choose to believe in it. The miraculous is achievable by the sum total of our power to believe it. I am so sure of this. So sure, in fact, I will repeat it. You are all God's, but with great power comes great responsibility. Your words, capture them now before you lose them. Hold the oxygen that contains your spirits in your palms and ration out your syllables like fine cuisine, because it can be a most delicious dish, but it can be poison. Your words, his words, her words, a treasure. With careful consideration, the castle to stand tall over a kingdom, misdirected a wrecking ball of nuclear proportions. Conjure spirits with your words. Set ships to sail. Command the stars to shine. Exalt the sun's rays to bend corners. Pronounce things that aren't as though they were and watch them occur. There has been a disconnect between us and our divinity. Help to correct this right now. So I need everyone within the sound of my voice to pay close attention. You are more than flesh and bones, more than your mother's child, 1,000 times bigger than your body. You have been impregnated with a seed, a mission, a purpose. This thing grows inside of you, larger and larger, until the skin of your thin heart is unable to contain it, and you explode. I am so sure of it. So sure, in fact, I will repeat it. You are purpose. Take care with your purpose. Some come to devour it. I'm not here to bring the religion. That's a choice. This thing I speak of, a force, a power inside of you, like stars in the cosmos, constellations of matter within your chest, whole galaxies in your heart, running rivers of star systems, lakes of fire, oceans of sunshine, continents of consciousness as bright as explosions, indigo visions, rapid fire restlessness, towers as high as the sky within the span of your third eye. I speak to you today of endearing encouragement. Come to loose the bonds that tie your hands to the temporal, unshackle the potential, give you what was already yours to begin with. You can build those things. Make these things happen, for they are impossibilities disguised as dreams, and you alone can give those shadows form. Just believe in yourself and know that you are all God's. It troubles me sometimes that I never can find the right words at the right time to save people. And so I wrote a poem for a girl who was passed out in front of the local at Linneman's River West End 1001 East Locust. It can be found on my blog, poetry blog, which is www.mariothepoet.wordpress.com. That's www.mariothepoet.wordpress.com. It's called To the Girl Nodding Out in Front of Poets Monday. A little bit of backstory. When I first published the poem, her brother, who was a regular at the local open mic, read the poem and realized that I was talking about his sister. And he gave her the poem. And subsequently, she approached me and let me know that she had the poem with her in rehab and that it helped to keep her sober. So if I have accomplished nothing and inspired no one, I am proud to say that I helped a little girl defeat a demon. To the girl nodding out in front of Poets Monday. A nebula of stardust, the glitter of broken glass and cigarette butts. She is a swaying pendulum. Each oscillation a genuflect to a white horse drawing a train wreck closer, back and forth. From car window to inconspicuous gangways, the needle leaves a scar. A porta potty confessional and intercession prayer to St. Jude. The poop and blood pisses off the angels. The prick and plunger shards a challenger windshield glass. She exposes her circulatory system to disaster. Reeks of victim and crime scene. The steps leading to the sidebar, her dingy brunette locks, open purse, and vulgar pursuits. At the gates of hellfire, she is an exorcism waiting to happen. Either by casket or behavioral modification, her story, full of endings at the beginning of life, chasing the dragon and hurting and hunting for more sky. You can't climb higher, only closer to your catastrophe. Simpleton, runaway, fool. You can't hide inside yourself. Everywhere you look, you're already there. Be cautious. This close to the concrete forest, the sharks smell blood before it dries on the needle tip, are waiting for skyward eyes, for they never see the weapon till the wound is wide open. Honor is obliterated, and the last few singles have been evacuated from the remains. To the girl nodding out in front of Poets Monday. A poem. There are a few things I am sure of. Only a couple of colors I can tell from a distance. Of these concrete certainties, one. Arial is the best font for writing. It is the easiest to decipher. Crying, two. The best poems are about crying, dying, and suicide, or at least they are the easiest for me to remember. Three, I hate list poems, but I keep writing them. I keep writing because death and crying are certainties, and I'm trying to avoid killing myself because of them. It would be easy for me to tell you I am confident. Lying is easy. Believe me when I am silent, I am a deception like carved out Bible verses used in sermons to patchwork God into a pickaxe to punch holes in the small children that later will be filled with alcohol and self-loathing. I've learned to hate myself. Five, I hate myself. For not believing in Jesus enough to forgive you for leaving, for constantly writing notes to you, notes underneath my heart muscle in hidden places, places I hide because loving you is like broken bones, amputated limbs, and fish hooks. Hooks come underneath collarbones, snatching bone fragments, searing pain, and screaming six. One day I will leave here. More than likely screaming, I deserve it. I have lied to you. Most of these words are about dying. I wrote them in Arial. One day you will read them. Seven. Forgiveness is the process of letting go. Holding on to diamonds is the same thing as holding on to sand. They will both be here long after you are finished. Give yourself forgiveness now while you can enjoy it. 8. Judgment should be reserved for something bigger than I am. I have trouble seeing the forest for the trees, and once thought it was a good idea to drink an entire bottle of Mad Dog 2020, then jump a bike off a ramp we made with used nails and plywood, so I probably don't have the best judgment. 9. Love is the only thing that can save you. It is a promise you make to keep what is inevitably leaving, a seasoning that makes everything sweet. It is the face of God we most often look for, so love, like it'll kill you not to. Because if you don't, it might kill you not to. Forgive because it makes love that much easier, and hating yourself can kill you. Forgive like everything will work out fine. Know that everything is leaving like it was supposed to, and that is working out. Be fine with that and love life accordingly. There are a few things I am sure of. Only a couple of colors I can tell from a distance. Love is one of them. You'll recognize it. It's the same color as a smile. So In hopes of clarity, I hope to explain to you how it feels. And so I wrote a poem to explain these feelings, and it's called Your Feelings. And it goes a little something like this. Inside the apocalyptic war zone of the percussion section, crashing and reverberating life through your limbs, there is a terracotta castle with walls made of the most reflective crystal. In the inner sanctum of the throne room, the dinners are served on plastic plates with pictures of corporate clowns and burger thieves on them. The cups are adorned with drawings of cartoon mice. This citadel is ruled by a child monarch who hears what he wants to hear, repeats slogans, and chants scriptures if he was given time to memorize them. Short memoried and tempered, this inner child is always shouting, raging, and shaking his fists at things he doesn't understand. He rants and raves at the darkness, closing in on the castle's walls. He knows where all this ends eventually. So he waits out his sentence playing board games, crying sometimes, and painting pictures of his dearest friends on the crystal walls. It's called Your Feelings. So now we're going to read a few poems from my blog. I'm usually a nightclub performer, so I like colorful language, but I also am a poet at heart, so I use colorful language. See what I did there? All right. Lessons. This is on my blog, which you can find at www.mariothepoet.wordpress.com. That's www.mariothepoet, all one word, no spaces, .wordpress.com. It's called Lessons. Been learning to backstroke in mud puddles. Stay inside and don't drink too quickly. Been watching the world turn backflips on tight wires over vats of battery acid. Seems like time is slowly slipping away from me. But time been slipping away from me. So long it's hard to remember when I had forever. I never had forever, just watching time slip away alone. Staring at rectangles and smoking these squares, avoiding circles and making triangles out of my divided heart. I am seldom divinity. But I remember what God looked like the last time she gave me her phone number. Blessings. Another poem from a blog. For all you sanctimonious people out there, a social media sermon. In a humble attempt to convert no one, I wish to make a confession. To the God of no fair warnings and preemptive first strikes, I gave up on avoiding disaster. Love, violence, loose women, and giving up. Nothing makes me more happy than dynamite and ending friendships, immature and petty, a badge of honor. I wish a fool would. Who do you think you talking to? And another 1,000 bullcrap sayings worn like crowns of kings and queens without a kingdom, and even more to lose. Who think it is fashion to curse what they ought forgive, and spit on graves, slapping ice cream out of children's hands, and act like Trump in their personal life while condemning him for being everything they are. Silly mortals. Loose batteries and pacemakers waiting to die just the way they came into this world, immature and crying about nothing. A social media sermon. A poem. Safe at home. Overflowing ashtrays, empty beer bottles, the unwashed coffee pot, crumbled poems discarded into overflowing waste baskets, life a flummoxed metronome with an overwrought winding key repeating the same beat. This cage will be my undoing, especially if this vape pen runs out. Shout out to the pandemic and social distancing. A poem untitled. A poem untitled. It is often I languish in this poet's soul, making lines where there ought to be circles, trying to make sense out of the infernal madness. God, I wish you had made me simple for carpentry or metallurgy, angles and mixing things. For in these words, these contemptuous words, we are more often paupers and laughing stocks. But sweet this addiction to writing is calling like sailors to post, man of war to killing, God to confounding. I think I was always this thing, suffering under strong drink and loose women, trying to hide, be something else, but I know nothing, can do nothing except what you attend. If this be my cross, let me bear it. My great grandmother's God. I wonder if I ever really knew you sometimes. If anyone can, but in this writing, may I find you. If you are, as she said, show me mercy today. Full of melancholy, violence, and tears is my worried heart. The people suffer in their own ignorance, slit under my window and sing me sleep, lest my heart explode. For it is full of your lesser blessings and knows not which way is home. Often I consider a poem. Often I consider. The race is full of pit stops and unexpected engine failures. Learning to stay between the lines while the white-hot engine purrs between your thighs and the chest-high safety belt grips your racing heart. Often I consider hitting the brakes with both feet, halting in the center of the roadway, right in the middle of oncoming traffic. Go around, I say to myself. But the oncoming horde still lurches and swerves to near miss an earth-shattering collision. My life is a series of earth-shattering and concussive forces. The collision is the conclusion I have yet to witness. Go around, I shout at God. But often I am left thinking I am talking to myself. The surrounding onlookers think I should get out of the way, move before I get hurt, parked in the middle of the speedway. It doesn't matter what they think, nor am I thinking about their opinions as the screeching and screaming drivers around me veer to change course. I read a book once that said something about forgiveness, but the manual can only teach you the rules. You have to drive the car yourself. Stopped in the middle of the chaos, I am flushed with a sense of calm. Everything will work out fine. Someone will come out here to collect me, then headlights with no brakes behind them make the turn, barreling into my silence. A poet's faith. A poet's faith. Deep in your belly, there is a tsunami brewing. A firestorm of hot lava turning and bending. There is lightning churning its way towards existence. The trick is to get out of the way of the oncoming storm. So I think sometimes about my neighborhood. When I'm not thinking about my writing, I think about my friends and what's happening in my community. And then I think about writing some more, a poem. Release the safety. Pull the trigger, the pin, the primer shoots fire out the chamber, light shows under street lights. Remember a time we used to fist fight, but them days over with, killers, young brothers, already victims by design. I must fear fellow former field hands convinced they took away their fathers from their sons, gave up on God, and passed out guns. It's like they released the safety. Pull the trigger, the pin strikes the primer, shoots fire out the chamber, light shows under street lights, crimson caskets, crew neck tees with painted faces of an entire generation, mothers losing sons like wrong directions in our section's a trap. The real cage is in their minds. Been trained, prepared to die. No lie, 25 make you old school. These fools killing over iPhones and gym shoes. Playing the game like there's no rules, no school, so private prisons just going like oak trees, filling with more fathers, so the cycle just continues. But statistical data shows more than these reality shows, and we losing. Being wealthy and healthy uncommon in these gutters. So much violence in these homes. Ain't no more jobs. He beats her, she beats the kids can't beat the eyes, but we used to be in property. They cuffed us when we left the comforts of our native soil, brought us here to these natives' soil, living the American scheme, put a brother in the highest office, but forget him and all that bull crap about a dream, because smiling faces don't change situations, especially when you face to face with hard steel. Release the safety. Pull the trigger, the pin strikes the prime and shoots fire out the chamber. Light shows under street lights. They selling us steel. We settling for less steel. Another brother with his eyes closed. Funeral's only time we get together, taping teddy bears round friggin' light poles behind the 8-ball. 4 rails out this living hell, but even the pool cue up for sale. Cause way they play this game they made up. Well, we turned up but wouldn't pick a book up. Disenfranchised, disengaged, despondent, despaired, and full of rage today. Release the safety. Pull the trigger, the pin strikes the prime and shoots fire out the chamber. Light shows under street light. I don't know how much longer I got, or how much more I got to say. But we'll read a few more poems and try to do some more stuff from memory. Again, y'all, as I said, I'm a nightclub performer, so I have a lot of poems that I can't do because this is family friendly. But they cussed in my family and drank too. Shut up. So, but let's do something. Let's read some more. You don't mind if I read, do you? I hope not. No, there's no comments yet. Oh, there is a comment. Okay. So let's read some more. You know, as I've been on this journey of being a writer. Shout out to Dasha Kelly, Wisconsin's poet laureate, and my former mentor. When I first started, I used to rap, and I was in Dayton, Ohio, living in Dayton, Ohio, and went to an open mic. A friend named Cherokee invited me to, and Dasha happened to be there, man. And I was sent on my new journey of learning about writing and who I was and what I was, and getting more serious. And as time went on, I got more serious. But speaking of the pandemic, which I wasn't, here's a poem I wrote. And we was gonna close with it tonight, but I've decided I'm gonna close with something different. This poem is called "Close Until Further Notice," and I wrote this the day that they closed the city. Close until further notice. The unemployed contortionist packs her costumes. The ticket taker shutters his windows. His dark apartment reminds him of work he once had. Empty hotel rooms. The mice are starving, like the laundry women and the housekeepers stay home, keeping their own living spaces tidy. The starving show folks won't be counted in the same columns as the other victims of this tragedy. Unwashed, faceless masses of unattended funerals with unpaid hospital accounts are seldom noticed or counted on for anything but post-mortem lab results. There are significant others playing punching bags, confined to domestic cataclysms. The irony of safer at home pronouncements drips from ice packs, praying they can escape before death announcements. We are a tribal people, shut in and shut up in our homes, hoping and praying that seasonality will save us before the dime of onlookers becomes a half dozen carrying us away. Sinking friendships. It's an old poem I wrote about sinking friendships. Behind the veil of the wreckage, below the collar of the bridal dragons, she is tending other people's crowns. She is ebony, like Bible verses. She is a rocket ship in restraints and movie posters. I think of her like aspirations on account of the fact I am probationary. Maybe none of this makes sense. But seahorses make perfect sense if you look close enough. I pray God turns them into seahorses before the fuel runs out and I shipwreck somewhere unfamiliar. The dragons play masquerade ball, silly dragons, blowhards full of fire, but no substance to show of it. She is full of substance and her sunlight. I am dark like ebony and Bible verses. I pray that she knows. It's called Sinking Friendships. It's a good poem. I like that poem. I don't like her anymore. For Valentine's Day. It's a poem called I Don't Like Her Anymore. It's my Valentine's Day poem for this year. I'll be posting it on my Facebook page, which my Facebook page is Mario the Poet, is facebook.com/Mario the Poet. This will be my Valentine's Day poem this year. Shout out to Greg the Hammer Valentine. I don't like her anymore. There are far too many freckles on her back for me to love her. When she sits in front of me in class, her hair always smells far too sweet. She doesn't know my name, but her chin is too long, so it doesn't matter. And her butt's too big. And her lips too succulent, and she is far too hilariously funny. Dudes don't want funny chicks. Boys' egos can't stand the competition. She thinks she is better than me. I think she is better at math than me, and I don't like it. I don't like her. I keep writing her name on the inside of my Trapper Keeper out of habit. Did more push-ups than Chris at the bus stop, and she pretended not to care. But good. I don't like her anyway. Sometimes I pray, just once, she noticed how much I don't like her. Surrendering Shadows. Surrendering Shadows, a poem. At night she is loyal, arrives dressed in light, a goddess. My mistress, we share my passions. She knows my secrets, keeps them hidden in a locket she wears when the phases suit her. Not her only suitor, but her jealous glances keep me awake, staring into her eyes at times. Her punctuality, ethic, and steely gaze made lesser men call her masculine. Told their children blatant lies. The cow barely made it over the farmer's barn. The fork and spoon had a huge wedding. The little dog attended, didn't so much as giggle. She tells me I am beautiful. I am too scared to call her a liar. She warned my ancestors when they would listen. I listened to the push and pull of her gravity, asked her questions, only expecting answers. An ancient witch dressed in only a bright rainbow of luminescence makes advances. The liberty of a partnership separated by a thin skyline, yet sharing the firmament's canvas, should have seen them holding each other, fireworks, a diamond ring around the clouds, the cooler winds, in darker spaces where Mother Earth shivers while the shoreline arrives to bear witness. Surrendering Shadows. It's during the eclipse of the moon. I hate to give away metaphors. Sometimes I feel like I have to. This poem is called Zidoro Kag Kaba, or backwards with a Z. Backwards, whatever. There are days I write her name backwards, trying to get out of it, get away from her. The obsession of chasing, wanting like lacerations, lost blood, fired starting pistol, she runs from me. Told me that this would not work, that I should move on, assertions like an abscess in my wisdom tooth, quickening my heart, but maybe she's right. Or maybe she is the right one, or maybe I should get a hold of myself. Not sure which or when, or even when. I am confident if it's not for very long. Long for the days before I could spell her name backwards from memory. Trying to reverse the spell she put on me is really not sure how. Zadro Cab backwards. Um, so how we doing on time? I'm not sure. Uh, we'll do a few more poems for you and get on out your way. Um, let me think. What should I say? During this pandemic and during the last 10 years, we've had an increase in the number of suicides that have come from little boys and girls giving up. But even worse in one category, and this is one of the first poems I wrote that I started to perform. And we'll do this in a couple more and then we'll be done for the evening. It's called She. She sits alone, just a tattered windbreaker in a pocket, full of spare change and thoughts, colored like questions till her heart reeks with confusion 1,000. Little white lies she rinses her hairs with, ignores their stares with false pride and shallow bravado. What a pretty young girl. Careful to seem carefree, exposes enough of herself to hide everything else because, everything melts when your heart's not cold enough to keep it frozen, like time was. Like Daddy's last lie was, you see, they share secrets, the kind when whispered hit you full on like sludge hammers in decent I love yous. You can't rinse off with bleach or dishwasher liquid. You can't scrub out with tears and fingernails that won't go down with Patron and painkillers. Just ask her. She's tried. Her body's so young, but her spirit's so tired. See, tainted love stains. Like urine on mattresses or prayers unanswered. And she's lived through, man, what it feel like when God can't hear you? Probably something like your father's cold, sweaty hands clasped around your mouth to muffle your scream and spends most of her days dreaming because nightmares, they work day shift, spend more time with the kids till one eve of a silent night after he had left her there, covered in self-loathing, exposed and disgusted, wrapped in sheets that knew too much, had seen too much. She took up arms against the victim, put the business end of a hidden revolver in her mouth, and transformed herself right there underneath the tree next to a new bike, borrowed blood. 16 years of living a life she never owned. Her body, just a decoration now, underneath the evergreen with tinsel and strung popcorn husks dangling from her hair, the contents of her skull plastered against the window like canned snow. The reporter on the 11 o'clock news reported about rising gas prices and an imaginary sleigh sighting. That night, an angel died. According to the Centers for Disease Control, in the last decade, the suicide rate among preteen and young teenage American girls rose 76%. I only knew one. She rode the bus to school with me, a tattered windbreaker in pockets full of quarters she would share with me for snacks before the bus arrived. She never made it home from winter vacation. On occasion, I'll see her in the eyes of a girl on a bus stop or at a stoplight. When I realized it couldn't be her, the emotions, they well up in me. I couldn't have known. There's nothing I could have done different. If it wasn't for the note she left, he'd have never been found out and convicted. But what I can give, my friend, altered by distorted affections and blasting powder, is this poem and a plea to the protectors of young girls. Please listen. Hold their hands. Be the one who saves them because according to the Centers for Disease Control, in the last decade, the suicide rate among preteen and young teenage American girls rose 76%. And there's got to be something we can do about that. That's that poem. One of the problems when you do things online is you don't ever know if anything's connecting, but we're going to keep going. I think we're getting closer to the end. Are we getting close to the end? I can't hear you. You're on mute. You gotta unmute yourself. Hey, unmute yourself.
There we go. And
Oh.
it's great. It's a lot of fun. Everything's well connected. We're still live right now. We've got a guest in here. We had a couple guests earlier. If you want to do one more poem and wrap it up, that would be great. Do an encore.
Great. I'll do just that. Thank you. I want to give back to God. Not to the ethereal entity that exists between molecules, but to the God in the eyes of a child, God in the tears of an unwed mother, God asleep in the weak-worn clothing smelling of urine and night trains. See, my God doesn't sit piously in cathedrals adorned in fine linen, pontificating about the morals of old elders while passion collects place repetitiously dead, banging on rhythms on drum sets to conscious spirit. See, my God hum an abused child to sleep, held her sweaty palms the next morning, then marched her into the counselor's office and cheered her on as she broke the silence abuse scars you with. See, religion is one of the worst things that ever happened to God. Righteousness transposed with dogma, genuflections, altar calls, baptismal fonts, ceremonial pageantry overshadowing charity, mercy, and forgiveness. I don't go to church. I don't watch televangelists either. I seldom sit entire poem about spirituality. See, I converse with ex-prostitutes, recovering drug addicts, and chronically ill children when I want to talk to God, young girls who had sold their bodies to the lowest bidder, covered in sweat, strangers' semen, and shame, who got out there one morning and felt the sun on their faces, just couldn't take it no more, so they ran to home or to the lobby of a KFC. Sex, cried till change came. My God. Drug addicts who had bartered away every possession, begged, borrowed, sucked every ounce of compassion from both friend and family, then sat around some abandoned building, hung on a pipe like a furnace, took a hit, then another, saw they couldn't drudge under the drag from the apparatus, so they stated with resolute pronouncement, this is it. 12 steps and 2 falls later, change came. My God, a small boy who has never known the rigorous revelry of precocious playfulness of youth, attached to entirely too many machines, monitoring what little life is left in his broken body, bed sores and incontinence, needle pricks and diagnoses, seeing more PhDs than ABCs. Can list for you the names of the medications he's taking, can't recount for you the names of his playmates though, but he greets you with a smile, says, I love you instead of goodbye, cries, but never complains about it, knows death by his first name, but would just prefer to know yours. My God, my God, my God, see, fellowship is good for the soul. And so some will choose the elegant demureness of a fine eatery. I'll have my soul food at mom's place with unmopped floors, lipstick stained coffee mugs, and cracked serving dishes, because to truly know the full illumination of God's grace, you have to have dwelled in the dark. To know his charity, you have to have been without affectation. I mean, water for dinner pour, and to know his power. But you have to come upon that blindly, like Paul on the road to Damascus. Wash your eyes in the fountain of faith and be able to see again. My God. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. Kenzie.
There I am. Okay. Hey, thank you so much, Mario. This has been really great. Really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. You got to check out Mario's blog too. Read everything he writes. This is my second time watching him perform. Yeah, thank you very much for being our
inaugural guest.
What did you say?
Yeah, I think you said thank me for being your inaugural guest.
Yes, that's where we're going with that. Inaugural guest. Yeah, so this will be the first of hopefully hundreds and hundreds of more to come. We'll be documenting these. They'll be all filed away, and we'll look back on our first guest performance with Mario Willis someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, bro.
All right, take care.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll just wrap things up by saying that we will be live again on Saturday, February 27th. So 2 weeks from today at 7 p.m. Our guest that evening will be Kavan Cortez, and he another poet. And these poetry sessions are all in celebration of Black History Month for February's Black History Month. In March, we will be going back to music. So far we have Neil Davis scheduled on March 27th with Steve Peplin. And we'll see. We can keep you updated with other upcoming events on our website, which I put in the chat section here. So until February 27th, until then, I hope you all have a very safe and happy Valentine's Day.